Hi everyone, this is Unit 2 and we're going to review Week 4. We had just 2 days in Week 4 because of the snow, so we didn't get quite as far, but we got a lot done anyway. When you see ICT, they're talking about information, communications, technology. This is huge. Excuse the comment, but communications and how we communicate, all the different facets of how we communicate nowadays because of technology. We not only want to understand some of the technologies, but we also want to understand how it affects our life and the life of our kids. So we started out talking about we have one-to-one communication, somebody makes a phone call, or we have one-to-many, somebody does a blog. Okay? We have email one-to-one, we have email one-to-many, sometimes it's many-to-many. You get involved with people responding to a blog or other things. Okay, we talked a little bit about cell use in public, what that might affect other people, places offering a discount at a restaurant if you leave your cell, and so forth. I read an article about 4 on up years old to about, maybe junior high. They were concerned about the kids and devices. What they were concerned about were the parents on the device and not paying attention to the kids. Life has changed with technology. Let's go on and talk about some of the things we want to talk about. We talked a little bit about the history of technology, and previously we talked about why we use technology, the speed, the accuracy, very accurate. Computers can handle a large quantity of information, and nowadays computers are very reliable. So reliability. 4 things, if you want to think of 4 characteristics of technology that have caused us to start to use it so much more in our world. Okay? And I believe we talked about those at the end of the previous week, so that's just a little review. We talked about the World Wide Web, service providers, browsers. We talked about browsers and how they connect. Service providers, communications, we ran through those. Email, video conferencing, we'll mention that again. Instant messaging, chat, social network, texting, tweeting, blogs, wikis, and podcasts. And we previously talked about search tools. We talked about web-based apps, file transfer protocols, web-based apps. We have plugins, extensions, add-ons, different things you can do with the browser to make it do things. For example, we gave the idea of extensions, Chromecast, little device you can hook to your TV if your TV accepts that, and then from your browser you can, through the Wi-Fi in your house, you can send information to the TV by a extension for that. Web-based apps apps that come via the World Wide Web. You can get computers in like a Chromebook, not very expensive, and just use that to access the internet rather than having lots of apps stored on your computer. Of course, you've got to have good internet access. Nowadays we can transfer files, file transfer protocol, trivial file transfer protocol. One makes sure everything is sent, this one just sends it. We talked about secure file transfer. We're going to talk about WinSCP, use that maybe in class, some in FileZilla in class to transfer files. And what we're going to be working on later on in the course is you're going to have a website and you can send files up to that website and be able to download files from that website. We watched a video about the internet, talked about the domain name. We talked a little bit about Google. Google Doc would be apps. We're going to create our own website and connect into the internet. If we created a website in class tomorrow and connected in, who's monitoring that? Really, the only one may be NIACC, if they're looking at that. So the video by Danny Hellis, the TED Talk, talked about when he got the, what he said, the third or fourth domain name in the world. We talked a little bit about that. They talked about the trust of the internet and how so many people are using the internet and we really don't know entirely, even close, to what's all going on in terms of going through the internet. More on that later. We did a brief start on word processing, trying to get it to say what you want it to say. There's all kinds of tools for editing. And then how it looks and being able to read the information. You know, getting your point across. Alright. Almost done. We got a couple slides left. Already talked about this information over here. This is what we did in class this week. We talked about the schedule, made some adjustments. We talked about making sure you're doing the outlines correctly. It would be easy to skip the videos. It's up. You're supposed to watch them. Everybody's supposed to watch the videos, come to class with ideas and so forth. We're working on Unit 2 and we're working on word processing. We finished up the skills-based assessment this week on the first unit. A couple key things to remember. Remember, you log out and turn off the monitor. You leave the machine on so that it can update during the evening. We talked a little more about software. I talked about that idea of understanding what it means to code, writing source code, creating executable, and you can either make that where people pay for it or license, or you can make it free or open source so people can look at it and use it. We also talked a little bit about the importance of coding. More than just developing code, but the learning that occurs when you do that. Productivity software. So what we're working on now is word processing. It's a way to communicate. Okay, whether you're creating information for print, for TV, web-based, you know, however your PDFs to distribute via the internet or whatever, however you're producing the information, you should be able to put it in a form that makes it easy to read or digest the information, create an understanding of whatever topic you're talking about and so forth. Spreadsheets analyze data, what if, you know, put them data in and then adjust that data and see the results and be able to make a decision based on that. Database more so for managing data. What can we store? We can store text information, we can store numbers, birth dates, we can store video, we can store voice, we can store pictures, we can store an entire inventory, we can, and so forth and so forth. Businesses use databases all the time to manage all their data. Presentation software, somewhere is to communicate. Graphic software, again, to communicate. It's just another way, a little bit beyond, I would say. Then this kind of goes a little beyond just word processing, where you can take the information and maybe use some animation or have the information change or add graphics information to make it, again, easier to read or decipher or understand, and so forth. We talked about technology impacts. We talked about that. We talked a little bit about how you learn, all the different ways. Massive online open course, or it might be massive open online course. But anyway, MOOCs, I just talked to somebody that did a MOOC here recently on music. I want to learn more about music, and there was one available. How we work, locations, web conferencing. We're going to talk more, as the course goes on, we'll see more of that. We talked about going from an agricultural world to more of an industrial world, and that industrial world is going to more of an information world. There's more people doing work that deals with information than we used to do by hand. And if you think about that a little bit, that should make sense. Even farming nowadays, it's more of managing the information in the tractor and so forth and dealing with it, and a little less of the manual labor involved. It's automated. Finish up some word processing key things. We talk. You should be able to. The skills are all listed when you look at the assignment. Footnote and endnote. Make sure you distinguish between those. You can divide up in Word, Microsoft Word. You can create sections. It's important to manage sections. We're going to deal with that next week. You can do a pull quote. You can pull some information right out of the text. You can use a text box to put it in, and then place that and wrap the text around it. Outline form, you can take topics and make a heading, like a lot of word processors, like it'd be a heading 1 and then maybe a heading 2 and 3. If you wanted to, you can indent, or how you manage those, and it's cool for creating a table of contents and so forth. Do not use the space bar to manage alignment. Make sure you use either a table or tabs. And we're going to talk about that in class too. And that's it for this week's review.